A mysterious object appeared near a distant star and convinced the world it was something extraordinary. Astronomers thought they were looking at a new world. Everything about it seemed to fit, until the evidence began to turn against it. And on 18 December 2025, what scientists understood about this object took an even more dramatic turn, transforming one of space's most fascinating mysteries into something far more unsettling.
Welcome to Mythxray.
One night, about 25 light-years from Earth, astronomers spotted a bright object near the star Fomalhaut. It was not just any random glow in the darkness. It appeared in a system already famous for having a huge ring of dust and debris around the star. To scientists, that made the discovery feel even more believable. A bright object moving near such a system looked exactly like the kind of thing you would expect if a planet were really there. It was given the name Fomalhaut b, and very quickly, excitement spread. Because discovering an exoplanet is never a small event. Every new world found beyond our solar system gives scientists another chance to understand how planets form, how star systems evolve, and whether places like our own might be common in the universe. So when Fomalhaut b appeared, many people believed humanity had found something remarkable. At first, the case looked strong. The object seemed to match the kind of discovery astronomers had been waiting for. It was bright, it was positioned in a compelling location, and it was associated with one of the most interesting nearby star systems known to science. For a while, Fomalhaut b stood as a powerful example of a possible new world beyond our own. But space has a way of turning certainty into mystery. As scientists kept observing Fomalhaut b, small problems began to appear. Then those problems became impossible to ignore. If this object were truly a planet, it should not only be visible in ordinary light, but also reveal itself in infrared. That is important because planets do not just reflect light, they also carry heat signatures and leave clues through the way they interact with their surroundings. But in the case of Fomalhaut b, that expected evidence was strangely weak. It could be seen in visible light, yet the infrared signals astronomers expected from a real planet were missing. That was the first major reason to doubt the original idea. A true planet should have behaved in a more convincing and consistent way. Instead, this object was already starting to look unusual. Then the mystery deepened. Over time, Fomalhaut b did not stay stable the way a solid world should. Instead of remaining compact and planet-like, it appeared to change. Its brightness shifted. Its structure seemed to spread out. Rather than looking like a massive body holding itself together under gravity, it began to look more like something dispersing, something fading, something fragile. That was a serious problem for the planet explanation, because planets do not normally behave like that. And once astronomers began to notice those changes, a much more unsettling possibility entered the picture. Maybe Fomalhaut b had never been a planet at all. Maybe what scientists had seen was not a world, but the aftermath of an event. Then came a major turning point. On 18 December 2025, fresh understanding around the object pushed the mystery further, strengthening the idea that astronomers were not looking at a true planet at all. Instead, the evidence increasingly pointed towards something temporary, unstable, and far more violent in origin. Then later observations added another twist. In the same star system, astronomers identified another bright source. That mattered because now this no longer looked like one isolated mystery. It suggested that Fomalhaut b might be producing bright objects from time to time, objects that could appear planet-like from a distance, but might actually be something very different. That changed the entire story. Scientists began putting the clues together in a new way. They proposed that Fomalhaut b may have been a cloud of dust and debris created when two large rocky bodies collided with one another. In space, such collisions can be catastrophic. When massive planetesimals smash together, they can release huge amounts of fine dust. That cloud can catch starlight and shine brightly enough to look, from far away, like a single compact object. In other words, something that appears to be a planet may actually be the glowing remains of destruction. And slowly, that explanation became the strongest one. The strange brightness, the lack of expected infrared evidence, the fading appearance, and the spreading structure all pointed in the same direction. Fomalhaut b was most likely not a planet, but a temporary dust cloud produced by a violent collision between large rocky bodies. Think about what that means. For years, humanity looked at that distant point of light and believed it was a world. It was named like a planet. It was discussed like a planet. It was imagined as a planet. But in reality, it may have been nothing more than the debris left behind after a cosmic crash. A false world made of dust, light, distance, and interpretation. And that is what makes this story so powerful. It reminds us that the universe does not always show us the truth in simple ways. It gives us fragments. It gives us signals. It gives us light from across impossible distances. And from those clues, science tries to reconstruct reality. Sometimes the first answer seems right, but then more evidence arrives, and the picture changes. That is not failure. That is science working exactly as it should.
The real strength of science is not in getting everything correct on the first try. Its strength is in questioning, testing, doubting, and correcting when better evidence appears. Fomalhaut b is a perfect example of that process. What once looked like one of the most exciting exoplanet discoveries became something far stranger and, in many ways, even more fascinating. Because the final truth was not a new world, it was the glowing aftermath of destruction. And maybe that is the most unsettling beauty of space. Sometimes it shows us something that looks solid and real, when in fact it is only a temporary illusion, a bright scar left behind by violence, a shape that convinces us we are seeing a planet, when really we are watching the remains of a collision drift through the darkness. Fomalhaut b may not have been a world at all, but its story still reveals something extraordinary about the universe. A place so vast, so mysterious, and so deceptive that even a cloud of dust can convince humanity it has found a planet.
Goodbye.